Welcome back to the show. Thanks for being here. Please hit subscribe, share, like, leave a 5-star review. You'll be entered to win dinner with me and my wife here in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm not paying for your airfare though, so you have to be here. But let me know if you leave a review and I'll put you on the little ticket in the hat. I don't have tickets yet, but I will buy some. Today's guest is beautiful. And I mean, from the inside out. It's my wife. She's here with me now. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the beautiful Haley Danielle Hogan.
This is the Stephan Hogan podcast.
We sold everything we owned, basically, and sold we technically sold your car too. And then we had a Jetta and we packed it full of just a few things, mostly clothes, some kitchen stuff, a few sentimental things, and our dogs. Oh no, we only had Daisy at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just
one
Daisy,
dog.
Chihuahua. And we packed the car and we drove across the country.
To a town where we really didn't know anybody into a one-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
With no job.
No jobs.
And no real plan.
No jobs, no plan.
And so here we are sitting here roughly 6 years later. And it's pretty crazy. I feel like the journey and the story's been pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride.
What's been the most kind of wild part for you?
I think the whole thing with your parents coming out here and both of them passing away, I feel like that has been the hardest part about the whole thing. And I mean, I don't know if that would have happened if we stayed in California or, how it all worked out. But that's definitely the hardest part is having both your parents move out here and then having them both pass away in just 2 years.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah. And you were close with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that you were feeling like this grief feeling for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's that like for you?
You mean just like grief in general?
Yeah, experiencing it. Because I remember you saying to me one day, and this was like really nice because you were like, man, like basically you got a taste of grief. And it was like, kind of helped you understand, I think, where I have been operating mentally.
Mm-hmm. For me, it was like a physiological body response. Like it was throughout my whole body feeling like this like sick, heavy feeling. So I don't know exactly what you would call it, but it was just like a very uncomfortable feeling throughout my whole body. And then obviously like a sadness, but it was just like a weird feeling in my body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what that podcast I was listening to yesterday said. It's like physiological.
Mm-hmm.
And that definitely was like a big part of our story here. And there was a lot of hardship through COVID and stuff. But one of the things that I think was really cool was when you told me, because I always had this negative story about our Nashville experience because of so much stuff that had happened and the hurt and the pain. But then you said something to me that kind of helped me reframe it.
Yeah.
Do you remember what you said?
I basically just told you to reframe it. Like, yeah, a bunch of bad stuff has happened, but we can look at the positive and see how much you've grown and learned and changed over these 6 years and where you've come, like how far you've come.
Yeah. So where do you feel like you've grown most?
Where have I grown most?
Yeah.
No, that's a hard question.
And what's the importance of growing together?
Oh, that's really important, especially if you're in a marriage, because you can grow either together or grow apart. So I feel like being on the same team and being on the same page in, whatever's going on and like keeping tabs on each other and making sure you're on the same page kind of helps you grow together,
Do you feel like the fact that we were so isolated and it was really just us for a long time helped us get on that same wavelength and like be equally yoked?
Yeah, I feel like we had less distractions. Like when you have a ton of friends and your family around, you're more comfortable and you just have more distractions. And so having no family, and we only had a couple friends, but they're busy, they have their own lives. And so we wouldn't see them a ton. We were pretty much alone all the time, very isolated. And yeah, we basically had to rely on each other.
Yeah. And it's weird that we could be in a city filled with people. We live downtown in the Gulch, but yet felt, for me at least, super alone.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people can relate to moving to a big city alone and feeling alone, because I think as an adult these days, it's harder to make friends because people are, I don't know what it is, if it's just like social media or people are just more established and comfortable with their own friends that they're not willing to kind of branch out and meet new people. But that's why when I first moved here, I got on Bumble BFF and started to try to like meet people and, make friends that way. And then living in our apartment, I think was good because it helped us make friends around where we lived. So that was cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Bumble BFF, explain that for people that don't know what that is.
So Bumble is a dating app, but they have a part of the app that's called Bumble BFF. So you can meet friends on there. So there's like a friendship part of the app.
Yeah. So you met some cool girls. It wasn't like she was going out trying to meet dudes, everybody.
No.
Clarification point.
No, girls, and I'm not a lesbian.
Yeah. You're not. Thank God. So coming out of this like crazy season, you trying to create friends, you started doing free photo shoots.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to be a photographer.
And hey, just so you all know, Haley says photographer.
It's just an accent. I know how you're supposed to say it, but it's just my accent.
So she knows how to say photography, but just roll with it.
Yeah, so I wanted to do photography. And I didn't have any clients, or I didn't know anybody really. So people I would meet, I would honestly just, anybody I saw that looked cool, had a cool vibe, I would go up to them and be like, you look cool. Can I do a photo shoot with you? And most people would be like, oh yeah, sure. Like whatever, And so then we'd plan a date and we'd go to a cool location and do a photo shoot. And it was
Did you have any goal in mind when you were doing that? Or was it really just the creative, like exercising the creative passion that you had to take pictures?
I really like magazine photo shoots, different things in like Vogue and just like the style and the vibes. Like they're always doing cool, different, unique, out there things. And so I just kind of wanted to try new things and experiment with new people, new locations and outfits and makeup and just experiment with everything. So I would just use people I knew, friends, family, or even strangers, and do photo shoots with them for fun, just to kind of learn. And then slowly over time, I got clients from meeting people and meeting like musicians who needed photography or videography for stuff. And yeah.
And here's the important part that I think people need to hear out of that, which I was talking to you about earlier, which is a lot of times we come into something, and this is something I was guilty of when I first started coming to Nashville about 13 years ago, which was I would have meetings with people, and I was a lot younger and immature, but I was always thinking, what can I get out of somebody instead of what can I give? Mm-hmm. And something that you executed without even knowing it was you were just giving value to people constantly by providing them not only a new relationship, like a new friend, but you were giving them pictures for free, which generally people had to pay for. Mm-hmm. And everybody always wants content for social media.
Oh, yeah. You can never have enough content.
Yeah. So it was like one of those things where you, just out of a pure place of purity of heart and love, it was like you were offering and giving and giving and giving and giving and giving. Now, fast forward, your full-time job kind of stemmed, and let me preface, not full-time, but like full-time income, prefaced off of that, in my opinion, seed that was planted when you started just giving away free photo shoots and making friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what I do now, I've learned about lighting and, camera angles and all that stuff. So even though I shoot most of what I do on my phone, it still is important to know, you need good lighting and you need good camera angles. Like that's important, and audio.
Yeah. So tell everybody what you do for your work for TikTok.
So I work technically for TikTok. It's a program, and I make UGC videos for different brands. So it could be any brand, from
What's UGC?
User-generated content. So it's content that looks like it's a real person talking about a product. So instead of it being like a commercial where it's super produced and fancy lighting, fancy this and that, it looks like a commercial and it looks like they're trying to sell something. So when you have a regular person talking about a product, it makes people less, like, oh, they're trying to sell me something. It's more...
It's relatable.
More relatable.
It looks, because in your feed, we've all seen the thing pop up where it's just somebody like any other TikTok that could have been in our feed. We all see someone and they're like, I did this product or used this and it helped me with this. But it's much easier to believe someone. So UGC has been a huge kind of a direction that businesses have headed in terms of where they put their ad spend for marketing. And you're riding that wave right now because you literally get to do that for a living. Can you talk a little bit more about how cool it is in terms of like being able to work from wherever and make your own hours and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I can work from wherever. I try to do it mostly during Harlan's nap time. Usually takes me just a couple hours a day, depending on, how many videos I have to do. But I could crank a lot of videos out in a couple hours, so I can get a lot done pretty fast. And then I have the rest of the day to, hang out with Harlan and do other stuff that I need to do.
What's the pay structure like?
It depends. So the program that I'm in, sometimes there's a flat rate and sometimes there's like a commission-based rate. So depending on how well the ad does, you get paid like a commission. So, or sometimes there is a base pay plus commission. And then there's also bonuses. So that's the program I'm in, but you can also be hired just on your own through like Instagram. Just someone emails you saying, hey, I want a video for this product. And then you can create your own rates and go from there. So the program I'm in has more strict parameters, but you can also do it on your own,
Yeah. And it was really scary for us when the whole TikTok thing happened where they were going to ban it.
Yeah, that was scary. And it's still like up in the air kind of.
A little bit, yeah.
I think it's going to stay because it's been staying forever. And so, I don't know.
But it's been interesting because both of us are essentially in that space for our work.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people are, more people than we even realize, are rely on it for income.
Yeah, I heard like 100, like over, I think the stat was, I could be wrong, but like over 100 million people like make their money off of doing stuff online.
Well, TikTok is a very unique platform, which they've made it. I mean, there's no other app that you can make the amount of money you can make off TikTok. Nothing else compares.
Yeah.
I mean, besides YouTube, I guess, but that's a totally different structure,
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool that TikTok allows people to make money off of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel a need to diversify because you're like on this one platform where you put a lot of like work and effort into it, but also there's high risk because you're in one vertical.
Mm-hmm.
So me and you have these conversations about revenue streams and things like that. Do you feel like for you right now in this stage, you're like, I like where I'm at, just being here?
No, I feel like my goal is to also be on Instagram a lot because I realize when I do videos on TikTok and Instagram, I get a lot more brand emails for collaboration. So the more I can be putting out on Instagram, the more emails I'll get about brand collaborations, which I'll be able to make more money on the side doing stuff, partnerships with Instagram, not just TikTok.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to keep the fire going on Instagram because if TikTok goes away, there has to be, other streams of income.
Yeah. And Instagram's owned by Facebook or Meta or whatever they're calling it. And that's not going anywhere because that's a U.S. company.
Yeah.
So essentially you're like, it's almost like your social media portfolio is diversified in a sense.
I mean, a little bit. I definitely need to be more on the Instagram side because I'm just so much on TikTok. But
Yeah. Well, it's easy to be on one, especially since you get paid through TikTok. So an interesting kind of question that I have about the Instagram thing and the brand deal thing, because we hear that and it's like, I think the magic question is people want to know, how do I get brand deals? How do I make money? How do I monetize my socials? But I don't think they realize the amount of years and time that is put into creating something that will be a machine or a mechanism that will generate revenue. So what did that look like for you in terms of finding a niche and building something?
Well, it started off on TikTok just because it was just a new fun app. And so I was just making fun videos. You know, I wasn't trying to do anything with it. I was just having fun. And I think that's the biggest thing is you need to do it because you like doing it and because you think it's fun. Because if you don't like doing it and you don't think it's fun, you're not going to do it, you know, because it's a lot of work. And so a lot of people that I'm trying to get to do what I'm doing, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. This is such a like lucrative career. You should do this too. I tell them, just make videos, just make videos, just make videos. And they don't, you know? So it's like you have to actually like it and want to do it. So I just started doing it for fun. And then we were living in downtown Nashville and we were going to fun different places all the time. So I started doing Nashville content. And that is a really hot thing on TikTok is different places in Nashville, different bars, different coffee shops, different just fun places to go. So that's how I started my following on TikTok was just by doing local Nashville stuff. And then once I got pregnant, I got real lazy and I did not want to go out and do anything. So I would do some videos here and there, like pregnancy humor videos, you know, but it wasn't like anything serious. It was just for fun. And then once I had a baby, then I was already like cooking stuff in the kitchen. And so I just started filming myself with Harlan and one of the videos took off. And so I just kept repeating that same type of video, but in different ways. And then now it's more cooking, you know, mom cooking type content.
And the cool thing is that Harlan's in them too.
Yeah. And it's really cool to watch because it started off with him as a little baby on my hip and I'm like chopping stuff with one arm. And now he's standing up on a chair by himself, you know, helping. Yeah. It's so cute.
Yeah. Genuinely, I do have a question for you.
Okay.
I want you to answer it honestly, truthfully. Okay.
Got it.
I have that backpack from Korchmar. What do you think of it?
Real nice. Fancy. High quality.
And you're not just saying that.
No.
Why is it nice? What's nice about it?
The material, it's just like very sturdy, you know? Like everything, it's just very like clean, nice and clean and sturdy.
Yeah.
And it looks pretty, but it's like masculine, you know?
See, men, that's what we want. We want to have a nice piece of leather-made goods that a woman finds to be attractive, masculine. Did you hear that word? I didn't even ask her to do this, or what to say, but she did. Korchmar's been in business since 1917, 4-generation family-owned and operated company right here out of the United States of America. I have multiple products from them. If you go to korchmar.com/discount/S15, you get 15% off your entire order. It'll be in the show notes, but it's KORCHMAR, Korchmar. So again, if you're a dude like me and you want something where time and progress isn't welcome, they're doing things the old-fashioned way, solid brass. I mean, this is the real deal. Top full-grain leather. Top 1% of leather is what they use. Go to korchmar.com/discount/S15 for your 15% off your entire order. Now, back to Haley. So how has being a mother changed your outlook on life?
I just feel like my priorities are different. I feel like I've realized like family is the most important. I used to think being successful and making money, like that was usually at the top, you know, that's what I wanted. But now having a kid, it's like, oh my gosh, like he is so important and my family is so important. And at the end of the day, especially, you know, when people in your life are passing away, you realize like that's what actually matters is the people in your life, because stuff comes and goes. Like TikTok comes and it can go, and Instagram can come and go. And, all these different things are very fleeting. So I think it's important to just really be close with your family.
Yeah, I agree. And it was hard doing those first few years without any family.
Mm-hmm.
And now your family, a good chunk of your family's moved to Tennessee recently.
Mm-hmm.
How's it having family now? And what's that feeling like?
Oh, it's great. I mean, it's so new still that it feels very like I'm on vacation or they're on vacation visiting, even though they have a house, it seems like it's going to go away, but it's really fun. Harlan's over at his cousin's house, hanging out with his cousins. And I would much rather have him be with family and hang out with cousins than having to, hire a babysitter or something. So it's awesome.
Yeah, I agree. And it changed for me too when, losing parents, it kind of puts in perspective life and the finality of existence and mortality. And I think that I heard this cool thing yesterday, and I was telling you it yesterday when you were consoling me while I was crying and having a grief session, about how there's in California, where we're from in Northern California, there's these giant redwood trees, and they're like thousands of years old. In fact, you can visit and you can see like a big piece of a tree cut in half, and it'll be like, this is when Jesus lived. This was when the Roman Empire was at its height. This is when this happened. And it's all these rings of the tree because you're able to count years based off of rings. And these trees are so old, but I found out and I learned that the root systems on the trees, on the biggest redwoods, these biggest trees in the world, they only go down 6 feet. They don't go down, they go out, and they connect to the other giant redwood trees. And the importance of how giants connect to giants. And in terms of a family, I feel like we are connecting those roots. We talk about the term roots, like we picked up our roots, or like, you hear it in country songs and it's kind of a cliche. But that whole picture of the roots going out versus down, to me, really had an impact. And I was curious because I think that you've grown so much. I feel like I have, but I know that you have too. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we moved here and didn't have the people in our lives. And when you cut out certain things and or people, not speaking negatively about anybody, but the reality of isolation is you can kind of make a decision what you want to do. Are you going to go inward? Are you going to learn? Are you going to read books? Blah, 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 blah. So what did you do? And how did you feel like you grew as a giant? Because I feel like I saw that in you, and what spurred that in you to get so into kind of like developing yourself?
I think it was a mixture of different things, I think it was entrepreneurship was a big one. And so learning about that, I was listening to tons of podcasts all the time, just learning. And also fitness was a huge pillar. So being able to exercise was so good for my mental health. And then also learning, it was also really good for my mental health. So I think those two things were the biggest.
Exercise and learning.
Mm-hmm.
And where did you learn the most from?
Books and podcasts. I just all day, when I would be working, when I worked for Jason, I would be listening to podcasts all day. Or, when I'm working out, I would listen to books, podcasts.
Yeah, audiobooks are the best.
Yeah.
What are you listening to right now?
I don't think I'm listening to anything right now.
Yeah, I feel like we bought some books, but have been pretty busy.
Yeah, since I've had a kid, the whole podcast thing's changed. I haven't really been listening to as many podcasts or listening to things because it's like when I'm with him, he's very all-consuming, as you know. So you can't really focus on something, if you're trying to focus on your kid. It's kind of hard because they're very busy and loud.
Yeah.
So
How is it being able to take care of yourself before you take care of your child? And I mean, we all know in theory that we should love ourselves and take care of ourselves to be good for others, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're only as good for others as you are for yourself. Or like the Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself, and you're not going to love your neighbor well if you're not loving yourself well. And I'm not going to love Harlan well and be a good dad if I'm not loving myself well. If we're operating out of a empty tank versus a full tank, how do you strike a balance? Have you found a balance? Is there even a balance? What's that like for you?
I think it's ever evolving and ever changing as he's growing and changing, So when he was little, it looked a lot different. I mean, he's still little technically. He's only 2. But from being an infant to a 2-year-old, it's completely different. So I think my big things are still exercise and eating healthy. Those are 2 big mental health things for me. So if I'm doing those and sleeping enough, that's also a huge thing. I have to sleep a lot because I'm a very tired girl. Mm-hmm. So
What's your bedtime? Just tell everybody.
7:30. And I will sleep until as long as I can. But Harlan likes to wake up early, so I can't usually sleep in. But when I can sleep in, I will. But anyways, sleep, exercise, and eating clean, I think those are big contributors to my mental health.
What about for your marriage?
Dates, date night, communication. I think those are big ones.
Yeah, let's talk about communication in marriage. Because one of the things that you liked about me before we got married was that I was super honest.
Mm-hmm.
And I have always just been that way. I've been kind of an open book. And you said earlier that I just talk to people. And if anything, I tell people too much. But do you like the fact that I'm brutally honest?
I'd rather know than not know. So, yes, I'm okay with it.
Do you think that most people feel that way?
I don't know. I think it just depends on the person. I just would rather know than not know. I don't like secrets being held behind my back. So to me, it feels like a secret,
Mm-hmm.
So I would rather just know everything, even if it's like painful and it hurts. It's like, I'd rather know.
Yeah. I think bringing things to the light always has been an important thing in our relationship.
Yeah. And then you can fix it and make it better if something's wrong with it.
Yeah. What would your advice be to a new married couple?
I think self-care first, like working on yourself continually as you're in a relationship with someone else. Because if you're not good yourself, you're not going to be a good partner, So making sure you're good and your mental health is good, that's going to help your relationship. Because you can't make someone else happy ever, no matter what you do.
Yeah, and it's not my job. It's not your job to make me happy.
No.
It's not your job to fix me.
No.
It's your job to love me and be there and be a support, as is my job for you.
Right.
But it's not my job I can't fix you. I'm not you. I can't control you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, being supportive is very different than trying to like fix somebody.
Yeah. And maybe we're an anomaly, but I mean, like, I think because we both want to be growing constantly, that there is that support from either party. And there's a lot of times where you're the strong one in the relationship and I'm the weak one, like the stuff I'm going through with my dad. And then there's times where, like, even I think, and if you're cool going there, talking about how hard it was after you had Harlan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was super hard because my hormones were crazy. And I feel like I wasn't on any meds because the medication I was on, they said that the baby would be really jittery.
And that medication was for?
Anxiety and depression. And so not being on that.
So postpartum, so we had, Harlan's born, you come home, and then you're basically home for what?
I don't know.
A year? 9 months?
Well, not like home straight.
No,
but
I know, but like you were, like I was working and you were home with Harlan.
Yeah.
That was our arrangement.
Mm-hmm. For, about a year-ish, give or take, maybe a few months. But
the postpartum depression thing is like real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's not something you can control. It just happens. And for me, it was more of like my brain felt like it just stopped working. Like my brain, I couldn't think clearly. I was like foggy, confused. And I feel like as a mom, you have to be on all the time. So you can't be that way as a mom because you have to take care of a child and keep a child alive. So that just didn't work. So we called, who did we call? Some mental health hotline.
There was some awesome resources that we got when we left the hospital that they gave. And one of them was a number for postpartum moms for like mental health stuff or postpartum depression or whatever, the postpartum anxiety. There's all kinds of postpartums because everybody understands now, I think more than ever, how hard it is on a woman, not only the pregnancy part. And for me, watching you go through the 9 months of being miserable and then, having this kid, like, it's so hard on you. It's so hard on you, not only emotionally, but physically, like on your body.
Yeah.
And then you have to all of a sudden take care of this little child that's a gift, but at the same time, this massive responsibility. And that in and of itself is just absolutely draining. And then you maybe add in hormonal factors or, maybe for someone like you or I who like struggle with the anxiety stuff, especially moving to Nashville, like both of us, our anxiety got worse when we moved here. Our mental health, but I think it went like on a decline.
Yeah.
A lot of that had to do with a lot of factors. But when you deal with that and you had dealt with it before and you're like a mom, but you can't take medicine and you're like, oh, I want to breastfeed my baby, but I don't want medicine to get into the milk and all these things. It just gets so crazy. I have such a respect for moms that I never had before going through that process with you. And I think it's important for us to have these conversations because there's a lot of, it's okay to say I'm not okay.
Yeah.
It's not okay to stay not okay.
Yeah, I think the hardest part was the hormones and not being able to control it. Because usually in my day-to-day life, I can control myself and how I feel for the most part, and most people can. But when your hormones are crazy and you can't control it, you feel just lost and confused and you don't know what to do. We don't know who to call, who to talk to, what to do because it feels chaotic.
100%.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was really interesting to me was when you finally went and did some research on hormones, because this is not something that's talked about. And I'd like you to talk about that TikTok that you did. I think you did a couple.
Yeah, I did a few talking about it.
Are these the ones that like blew up?
Yeah. So basically, my hormones were crazy. And so...
Yeah, they get depleted, right?
Yeah. So after you have a baby, all of your hormones go to like not zero, but really, really low. So everything is super, super low. So it's normal when you feel all these feelings that you have because you have almost no hormones in your body. So I went to a hormone specialist who checked my hormones and they were all super low as he expected. And he gave me testosterone and within like...
And let's pause there really quick because everybody's gonna be like, what? Testosterone? And what did he say? Testosterone is the
most important hormone for a woman. So, yeah, it's very important. So I got testosterone and within a week my energy was back. I was feeling better and it was life-changing, really. It was huge.
Yeah, mental clarity. And so I think that's a resource for, you can speak to it, but for postpartum moms or anybody in general.
Yeah. If anyone's having hormone issues, if you're in menopause or postpartum, they can go to Full Life in Brentwood. And Dr. Woodford, he's amazing. That's who I went to. And
Is it Brentwood or Green Hills?
Brentwood. They moved to Brentwood.
Okay.
You always forget that.
Yeah. But it's a great hormone clinic because they're able to help you and specialize in terms of like hormone regulation.
Yeah. And so they check all your levels first, see where you're at, and then they kind of adjust. They start off really slow with really little amounts, and adjust and see how you feel from there. And then every time you go back, you do blood work again to make sure they can see where your levels are at. So it's not like they're just throwing hormones at you. And they're very low doses. Everything they give out is very low. So it's nothing that'll make you feel crazy.
Yeah. And that was definitely life-changing, I feel like.
Totally.
And even now, and they're slow, they put pellets in you. They last 3 months?
Yeah, 3 to 4 months the pellets last.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like for me, I found out my testosterone was way low and got mine up, and that changed everything for me. That and supplementation. I feel like...
Yeah, it totally helped your energy, the testosterone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we never go, it's not something that like in Western medicine, I think we talk about.
Yeah. I don't know why it's not really talked about. Well, when I asked my actual real doctor before all this, she said, we don't need to test your hormones because you're healthy. Like you're a healthy individual, and she wouldn't test them.
Oh yeah. She refused to do blood work for you.
Yeah. Which is, I don't know if that's normal or abnormal or what the situation was, but she just would not test them because she said, I'm healthy, I'm fine. I don't need to test my hormones. So that was kind of weird.
Yeah. If you were to write a story on our coming across a country in a Volkswagen Jetta to this moment right now of us having just celebrated the 40th episode with Dan Tominski, and now we're headed into the next round to get us to 50, which would be a big milestone. If you were to summarize that entire time,
the year or the 6 years?
6 years. How would you do it?
I think it's just learning. We had to learn so much. It's just constant learning and growth. And it was hard.
Yeah. Learning and growth. But I think that you grow the most when
it's challenging.
Yeah.
And when there's problems.
Yeah. And I think that we all want to learn and grow. I am, and since because of the reframe we talked about, I have gratitude. So this is going to sound weird, and I don't mean it to be weird. I lost my mom, brain cancer. My dad just passed away. And in the midst of that, I have gratitude because the experience causes something in you as a human being that you cannot experience or that you would not understand without having lost your parents like that back to back. And so it's tragic, but it's also I know I'm going to see him again, but it's grown me. And without having that loss, I wouldn't be the person that I am. And it's not that I'm defined by tragedy. It's that I'm defined by what tragedy has done and how it's produced fruit in me to make me a better man.
Doesn't mean it's not hard.
Doesn't mean it's not hard. But it's like the ship analogy, ships are safest in port or at harbor, but they're meant for storms. They're built for storms. And I think that if I were to summarize our story in Nashville, it's been storm after storm after storm. And I have this tattoo that I got when my mom passed away of a ship. And it's a reminder that me and you are kind of charting how our legacy is going to be moving forward. But I feel like all those storms that we've been through, calm seas never made a good sailor. And we've been captaining this ship together. And it really feels like together, even though sometimes it's I love you right now, but I don't like you. It's one of those things where I feel done it together. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that way?
Yeah.
And I wish that more people, You know, maybe the answer is everyone needs to move out of their hometown.
I think everyone's situation would be different though, you know?
Yeah, but when you get uncomfortable is where you grow.
And I think we were entrepreneurs. And so that's very different than moving to a new place and just getting a job, because you have security in that job and that makes it a lot easier. But part of our story was we were trying to do things that were creative and, you know, our own businesses and stuff. And so that's a lot harder. Because you're like, where's my next paycheck coming from? You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know how you're going to survive or live.
What's the hardest business lesson you've learned?
Hardest business lesson. I think agreeing to things too far ahead, because I think you don't realize how much you grow and change in just a few years. And so agreeing to something a few years out, you don't know where you're going to be in the next 2 years. So it could be completely not your situation anymore, you know?
You mean like leasing a car and knowing that you have to still drive that car 3 years from now?
No, I'm talking about agreeing to something like, oh yeah, I'll shoot a wedding for you in 3 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you're like locked in to something.
Right. And then in 3 years, you're like, oh, this is not a good idea.
It's like a life lease.
Yeah.
You're like leasing yourself out ahead. That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
It's amazing what can happen in a short period of time and the amount of growth. And we always hear about the overnight success, but what I've heard more and more since I've lived here is the 10-year overnight success story, where it takes all this time and there's like the new artist categories, and these artists aren't new. They've been working at it since they were little kids.
Oh, yeah.
But they're just being recognized for their talent and hard work. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you're excited about the future more now than ever?
Yeah, definitely.
Why?
Well, I think having a kid changes everything. I'm excited for his life and to watch him grow and to expand our family. And now that our family's here, that's exciting, you know, having family close and in town, because it feels like we have more of a support system and it's just more fun doing life with family members and people you love. And we just have a lot of cool new opportunities coming up that are just exciting.
Yeah, be vague, but talk about it.
Be vague, but talk about it. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to be vague, yet talk about it. What are some possibilities that could happen? Well, this podcast is expanding and growing very fast. And there's a lot of cool opportunities coming up with the podcast. And then my TikTok stuff is growing and expanding, and that's exciting. And I think they're changing the platform, and there's going to be a lot of new things, new brands, new situations coming out with that. And so I'm excited to see what comes of that, you know? What are some of the coolest brands you've been able to do content for? The coolest? Yeah, like impress me, name drop. Like, I mean, Gatorade, that's one. Tractor Supply. What else? I'm trying to think. You've done a lot of restaurant, like food stuff. Oh, yeah. Buffalo Wild Wings. That one was yummy. You did. Dunkin' Donuts. You got some new, like, supplement. Oh, Nature Wise. I'm doing a bunch of Nature Wise gummy supplements, and then also Nature. There's another Nature one. There was one that was gold that came with a scoop. What was that? Gold that came with a scoop. You guys need to understand the amount of crap that we have at our house. The packages are endless. Yeah, it's hard to remember because it's like so many. Because I'm doing I'm doing at least 35 videos a week, at least. So it's hard to keep track. Yeah, so basically you film and edit 35 ads per week. Mm-hmm. And turn them in, and then you have to do revisions on the videos. Correct. So not all of them, but if you say a word wrong or you pronounce a word wrong or, you know, the music's too loud or just little tweaks, they'll make you redo it or change it. Yeah. And again, like you touched on it earlier, but like
and the word you use is different, but you get a royalty if the ad performs well.
Oh, yeah. They called it a commission.
They call them commissions, but I like to think of it as a royalty in like songwriting.
Yeah. So some videos do really well and some
What's
don't
your
do
biggest
anything.
commission?
Off one video?
Yeah.
I think it was like $1,200 off of one.
And that's just purely off of people like clicking?
I don't know exactly. I think it's people engaging with the video. I don't know if it's clicks, but it's just engagement. So whichever ones engage the most with people.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But it can keep going forever if your ad does well.
Oh, yeah. Up to 6 months. They run the ads for up to 6 months. If the brands like them, they can choose to run up to 6 months.
Yeah.
So.
And then they can also, you can put them on your page and get paid more too.
Some.
Yeah.
Some have the option to put them on my own, but.
It's just an interesting world that we live in where that's where things are now.
Yeah.
That's where culture is.
Mm-hmm.
They're swiping.
Yep.
They're swiping on their phones. That's how people are finding the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Is Reels, Shorts.
Yeah.
TikToks.
I'll ask you, what are you excited for the future?
Well, I am excited. I'm excited about a few things. One, and I was actually thinking about it this morning, just because of our living situation.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up owning 2 homes, and we're very blessed by that. And one of them we're going to be moving into. And I've been thinking about it in stressful terms, but I reframed it again, reframing something huge that I've learned to do.
Mm-hmm.
And actually my psychiatrist helped teach me that. But the reframe is basically being able to take something that you would look at in one light and shining a different light on it and viewing the same thing, but from a different perspective. And so now we're going to be able to go live at this other house that's really nice that we have that's on some acreage. And so I was actually like, it's really exciting at the idea to be able to raise a family there, have a legacy home that's going to be passed down through generations. Like that in and of itself is exciting to me because our little boy Harlan loves the riding lawnmower, and he's always saying lawnmower.
He's obsessed with the lawnmower.
And
the Momo.
The Momo. And he'll be like, Crudge, lawnmower. And that's precious to me, and I'm excited for him to grow up outside.
Oh, yeah.
You know, doing stuff outside and just experiencing life and getting dirty and doing things with dad, because those are some of my favorite memories with my dad as a kid was doing yard work, you know?
Yeah.
Like little boys just wanted to do stuff with their dads. And so I was thinking about that so much this morning. And then career-wise, yeah, like right now if you made it this far in the podcast, you're in the like 99th percentile, I think so. But we're having just some conversations in terms of potential like licensing partnerships, which has been amazing because a year in, we've been really blessed. I've been blessed with some amazing guests through the years and years and years and years and years of work that I put in as a musician and networking and making friends through friends to be at a spot where I've been able to have on some really cool people, and the people that we have scheduled that are coming up are really, really cool too. And so we see this thing building and it's gaining traction. I'm excited to see what happens with that because I finally feel like like you with doing something that you love. You said you have to really like doing what you're doing. You started making TikToks and all that. And it's the reason that all these people quit podcasts. They do 10 episodes, 90% quit. They do 20 episodes, 99% quit. I'm already in the 1% once I went past 20 episodes. And then only like 27% of the 1% do video. So I'm in the 0.27% and was in Spotify's top 10 video podcast for 2024 on the recap. And so being able to like start something and within a year have such a big return on investment, not necessarily on a fiscal level, but on just a feeling like creating something that's helping people in the DMs and thinking about just helping the one and trying to keep my focus on that, you know, who's the one person out there that might hear this or might hear you talk about postpartum depression and be like, yeah, she talked about that. I should go get my hormones checked. Little things like that. It's like you never know who these things are going to hit. And it's kind of like a exciting, cool. It's almost like a song. You know, when songs are released, they go out, they impact the world. And the guy or the gal that wrote it or performed it is never going to know how deep or wide that song impacted someone. And I feel like podcasting's kind of that same way. But I feel like I found my thing because performing always gave me a lot of anxiety. Not that I don't like it, but I didn't do it often enough to not have anxiety. And that's just something I struggled with my whole life. And I feel like being able to sit and talk is much more my vibe. Not that I don't like performing. I may still one day do it.
But it's very different.
It's just such a different world, like touring, traveling, that whole gig. And I have friends that do it, and it just wears you out. And I want to be there and present for my family. And so for me, it's like prioritizing my relationship with God and my relationship with you, and then my relationship with Harlan are really my big, priorities. And everything kind of falls underneath that. And I feel like that's what makes life worth living. Like you said, is family. It's raising a family together. So that's what I'm excited about. Because as my psychiatrist told me, there's like financial security, which is something that we strive for. And then once you get there, then there's also like what he calls work fulfillment. So there's like, I guess, like financial fulfillment, and then there's work fulfillment. And I can't say that I'm at either of those, but I feel like we're on a trajectory towards those. And that's exciting to feel.
Yeah, and I think it'll always grow and change as you grow and change. I don't think it'll always be the same. It's not like I have arrived. I don't think you ever just arrive, Yeah. It's always progress.
Yeah. And then I think it's important to have that like mentality of knowing that the horizon will always get further. And that's one of the things that in the interview, like, so when we did our first episode with Vince Gill that aired, Haley was the one, you were the one behind the camera. You were taking pictures and you were monitoring 3 cameras at the same time. And me and you set it up ourselves and I edited it. And that's how this whole thing started.
Yeah, all the beginning podcasts, we would take all of our gear, go to a location, set it all up, record it, and then you would go back and edit it.
Yeah. And it's grown. And now we have Rocky full-time, Rocco. And he's an awesome asset to the team. And we have Korchmar helping us out, which has been awesome. So it's cool just to see where things are headed and where when you just show up, things can change. But it's just showing up.
But also putting in effort. It's not just showing up.
Well, yeah.
You got to put in a lot of effort.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But it's like this. And I think you'll agree with this, not to hijack me asking you questions, but one of my favorite videos, and I have it on my phone, I have this little like fitness photo album of me over the years. And there's a video in it. And it's like, you go to the gym for a day, you work out really hard, you go home, you see nothing, you don't see results. You go to the gym for 2 days, you go home, you look in the mirror, you don't see results. It's like you go for a week, you don't see results. You go for a month,
maybe a tiny bit.
Maybe. Depending on your diet.
Yeah.
And a lot of other factors. But it's like maybe you see a little bit of results. But like it's that like one day you're not going to see a result. Like one video, you're not going to see a result. One podcast is not going to change everything for you. It's all those incremental steps. And there's a great book called Atomic Habits that talks about all of the little things that add up to create something. And so I've been like very like blinders down, and I was up until episode 40, I stopped counting. And then all of a sudden 40 just arrived, and it was like, oh, and it's just because I just kept doing it and showing up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I feel like that's what you've done too. Like at Healthy Haley Hogan on TikTok, you have someone from the gym that we have a membership at that started following you, and she's down how many pounds?
She said like almost 80 now.
Yeah, down 80 pounds.
It's crazy.
And you kind of helped.
She said she was following my recipes, and she also stopped eating sugar, which is huge. But yeah.
And so like you've been conducive to other people doing your recipes and stuff. In fact, you were supposed to be on, what show was it?
The Drew Barrymore Show.
Yeah, you had a recipe and they reached out to you.
Well, it was in the episode and then the editors cut it out.
Yeah.
So I kind of was on the show, but it didn't make it.
Like kind of on it, but you didn't see it if you watched the show.
Yeah. So whatever.
But it's been crazy because it's all those little steps. So my question is, what would, if you go back to like when we met, or like even just like the 18-year-old you, and you looked forward and you looked at yourself now and you looked ahead at your life and you saw where you're at, what would that younger you say?
You mean what would like the older me say to the younger me?
No, I want to know what the younger you would be. Like, what would that younger you think?
Of myself? I think they would be excited about their future life. I think they'd be excited. I don't know what they'd say.
So you think the younger you, she would be like, wow, that's really cool?
Yeah, I think so.
Now, what would you tell her?
I would tell her to slow down and enjoy the process, like enjoy the moments. You know, I feel like I was always in such a rush and such a hurry to get places and to do things, like, you know, and just like calm down, chill out. It's going to be okay.
Oh, so that's what you should be telling yourself now?
Now, I don't know. Maybe I'm still the same way.
Well, we all have a tendency to get stressed about stuff. And we had a conversation in the car about a topic yesterday. And you're like, I think I'm just stressed about this. But if that future you were to talk to you now.
It's hard when you have lots of goals constantly, new goals and new things you're trying to achieve, because you're just never satisfied.
Yeah. And you're wired that way.
But it also makes me happy and it keeps me going. Like, I like it.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a bad thing.
Talk about what you did when you turned 18.
When I turned 18, I moved to Santa Cruz with my friend.
Like you literally just packed up and moved to Santa Cruz.
Packed my stuff up, moved to Santa Cruz. Yeah. My family always told me that they financially were just not able to help me. So if I wanted to do anything, I had to just figure it out myself. So I was like, cool, I'll just figure it out. So I got a job at the Crow's Nest in Santa Cruz. It's a restaurant. I was a hostess, and then I also was a nanny. And I moved out there, and that's where I started a whole journey. It didn't turn out so good in Santa Cruz, though. I lived in a haunted house. My friends all got in fights, and we all split up and moved away. But it was a learning lesson. I was 18. It's like you're a baby when you're 18. You know? It's like,
but you've always been driven. That's what that story tells me, is that entrepreneurial side of you, which is not even something I recognized when we first met, which is just so interesting to me. And not everybody has it, but you're the kind of woman that was like, we talked about this. It was like, even if you had the ability to like not work at all, what would you do? I
would do what I like to do, which is like create content.
Yeah.
For fun. Because that's what I like to do.
You'd be doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I would be doing what I'm doing.
Which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's what you want. Like, that's what you want.
And the podcast thing is like a godsend, because it's like I'm doing what I would want to do in the most weird roundabout way, getting in the most astonishing rooms with the craziest people that I didn't think I would meet. But it's all just from showing up and kind of doing the journey. I think God opens doors in our lives and then we just walk through them. But I think it takes sometimes like the step of faith into the unknown, like us moving to Nashville, to be able to experience what that thing is that God has for you. Because you don't see it. And I want to wrap up, but I want to talk about, remember when we wanted to buy a fifth wheel?
Yeah.
So we wanted to buy a fifth wheel because it was really difficult sharing. We lived with my dad and we were living with him to help take care of him because my dad had pulmonary fibrosis and a lot of heart trouble. And it was really hard on our marriage. And what I didn't know, and I don't think you knew, was that I was putting my dad first, not you, in our marriage.
Yeah, I think I kind of knew, but I didn't really understand what was happening.
Or know how to communicate it right.
Yeah.
So we had a really great marriage therapist that kind of helped figure that out. And then we were looking for solutions. And we were like, well, maybe we can get a fifth wheel and put it on our property because they have some really nice ones. And we had great credit and like income and stuff. And we tried to buy this not that expensive fifth wheel and it got denied.
Yeah, I think we tried a few different ones, didn't we? And they all got denied.
And it made zero sense. And the lady at the dealership's like, this doesn't make sense. Like everybody gets RV loans.
Yeah.
And little did we know, on your 30th birthday, which came not that much longer after.
Yeah, it was probably like a few months. It was spring to summer.
What did we find out in Belize?
That I was pregnant.
Yeah. And at first we didn't, like the first test was like kind of and the second test was definitely
It's a baby.
And it was not a planned pregnancy. But I do remember at that time feeling like I wanted to be a dad. So all that to say, Haley gets pregnant. And had we gotten that fifth wheel,
we would have had to sell it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because that would have not been a conducive place to a family environment. And so,
not saying a family can't live in that, but like
no, I
with
know.
the tornadoes and stuff, I would have been too paranoid with the baby.
Just for us in our situation in season of life, it didn't make sense to like downsize that much. And I don't know. It just didn't make sense with all my guitars and blah, blah, blah. So it was like we didn't see the outcome. We were perturbed at the fact that we didn't get the fifth wheel, but then you realize that it's like, oh, you were pregnant. You were going to get pregnant. Like God had this other plan in mind, but we didn't see the outcome. So all we knew was that thing didn't happen. And I feel like it's so easy to look at life on the micro and not on the macro. And we get so involved in like, this is or is not happening the way I want it to right now. But you don't know what is in store for you in the future. So I feel like for you and your journey, it's been cool to see how like you've gone from just making TikToks for fun to being paid to do it. Just by proxy of the fact that you were doing it because you loved it.
Mm-hmm. Doing it for fun.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was fun.
And that Dave dude from Barstool Sports that owns it, he said, you have to love what you do if you're going to be an entrepreneur. If you don't love it, you're never going to have success at it. Mm-hmm. And then like for me and you, we sat down in this exact room a year ago and we filmed an episode just talking about random Nashville stuff and random music business stuff that hit a chord with people, that started a podcast. And now going on a year later, it's like, look where things are at now with what you're doing and what I'm doing. And none of these things we could have ever asked or imagined or even like dreamt of.
Yeah.
But it was kind of just one of those things where for me in my spiritual life, I learned a lot this last year about trusting God and realizing when you lose parents, you're not in control. You can't control when someone's going to live or someone's going to die. Mm-hmm. So I kind of have to live life with open hands. And it's one of those things that's a constant battle against like wanting to hold on and control the outcome and the results. Vince Gill's the one that said, you can't control the results. You can't control the results. When you release music, you don't know what it's going to do. You can't control the results. And I didn't really understand the brevity of that statement until this last year when I'm like, I cannot control the results. I can have influence over things like me and you can go to the gym together in the morning and eat healthy, but there's big picture things that we don't see. Mm-hmm. And I think that we need to keep that in mind as people and realize that things aren't just going to be what you want them to be right away. And you got to weather some storms. And we've weathered them together. which has been cool.
Yeah.
And we've been married 9 years this year. And we need to go to Italy.
Yep. Plan. Should we go this year?
Yes.
Or should we wait till our 10-year?
Will we have someone to watch Harlan?
This year?
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom can.
Are you okay going that long?
Let's go to Italy this year and then something fun also next year.
I want to do like a whole European thing. I want to go to Ireland.
Okay.
Because my great-grandfather's from Dublin.
Uh-huh.
And I'm a Hogan.
Oh, Hogan.
Oh, Hogan. So I want to go visit the clan of the Hogan.
Ooh, I'm a Hogan too now.
I know. So I want to go like meet my like ancestors.
Cool.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Italy this year, this is what they say. Traveling isn't spending money. It's buying memories.
That's right. It's an investment to our future. And I've heard on Instagram Reels that if you travel more, you're more happier and you live longer.
I believe that.
Mm-hmm. So I think for our 10-year, we should have a vow renewal and invite all of our family to like Hawaii or something beautiful.
Ooh.
Would that be fun?
Yeah. Do you still have your vows that you made for me? Because I have mine.
What do I have?
I have them in my email. I could pull them up right now.
Email. Ooh, I don't know. I don't know if I have them.
Are you going to have to go back and watch the video of you reading them to me and write them down?
Do we have a video of that?
Somewhere. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I wonder if mine are in an email somewhere.
I just remember emailing them to myself because I was like, I want to be able to access these. I've read them to you on like Valentine's Day and stuff before a few times. I don't know if you recall.
Don't remember.
Yeah, that hurts.
Sorry.
Okay, this is what I want to end on. I want your take on this TikTok that I heard today. Sorry, I just turned my phone off airplane mode. Kanan Smith texted me. Okay. I sent it to myself. This is super random, by the way. So.
Adults who enjoy. There's a specific person that you've got to get out of your life right now. It's the person that wants to remind you of who you were. It's the person who wants to remind you of how you used to be, what you used to do, how you used to do it. That used to person's dead. Anybody who wants to resurrect that person cannot be in your life. There is nothing more important than getting people out of your life. They want to pretend you're the person you were yesterday. They want to act like you're the person you were yesterday. You're evolving, you're growing, you're advancing. You need to be focused on you right now, and anybody that wants to bring you back, anybody that wants to pretend you are the same person that they knew 1, 2, 6, 7 years ago, get them the hell out of your life. There's a specific person that you got.
Ooh, do you have a person?
No, this is for you. Did that resonate with you?
No, I feel like either they have stopped talking to me or
Yeah, exactly.
I've stopped talking
That's
to them.
what I want you. He said 1, 2, 6 years ago. What's the importance of being able to understand that you outgrow certain relationships? And is that hard for you?
Yeah, it's super hard because it's like they're your friends, you know? But at the same time, when you're changing and they're changing and you're not on the same, I don't know, you're just not, you don't understand each other anymore, you know? And sometimes
you don't understand each other anymore?
Yeah. I think that's a big thing.
In what way?
Well, it just depends on the person and the situation. Like, I've had a lot of people who just straight up just stop talking to me, and I have no idea why. But there's reasons why, and it's been a few different people throughout my life. Slowly, as I've moved and I've done things, they just don't communicate with me anymore. And I don't know exactly why, but I have a feeling it's because I'm growing and doing different things. And to some people, they don't understand it. They don't understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is fine.
Yeah.
Stay hard.
Yeah. I think that's a good answer. But I was just curious. I liked that. I came across it and I thought of it and I thought of you. I thought of me. I thought of us. And appreciate you coming on this podcast that you helped start creating, that you've been such an integral part of. I couldn't have started it or done it without you, because we launched with 6 episodes and you were behind the camera on all those. And you still come and take pictures. And I need to just acknowledge the fact that you've been the biggest support.
Oh,
And the most amazing wife.
oh, you're so nice.
Yeah. And I know that you have all 5 love languages. And that's really hard for me. But right now,
You're doing words of affirmation.
Right
so
now,
that's
I'm
really nice.
using words of affirmation. So
I like that.
I really thank you for being you, challenging me in areas where I need to be challenged, sometimes kicking my butt. And hopefully I can do the same for you in a way.
Do.
I know.
You do.
And so we're not perfect, everybody, just so you know. And I don't want this to be the perfect Hogan's podcast. But we've been through a lot of hard stuff in the last 6 years. And if you ever need a resource or you want to chat, you can talk to me at Stephan Hogan or Haley. Give me your social handles so people can follow you.
Healthy Haley Hogan. Haley.
How do you spell Haley?
Haley. It's Haley.
Healthy Haley.
Healthy Haley Hogan.
All one word.
One word.
And you can get all kinds of recipes on there.
Yep.
Healthy
Different
ones.
Healthy recipes.
From Haley Hogan, who's an ASM certified college graduate, personal trainer in health and fitness, a biomechanics specialist.
But I did let my NASM certification expire.
But we're still paying for you to do it again.
I paid for it to do it again, which I have not done.
It's in the pipeline.
It's just so much work. It's a lot to learn. It's like, it's a lot to learn. They updated a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It is a lot to learn, just like that business class that we did online.
Oh, Harvard. Yeah. We failed that for sure.
Well, thank you again. I love you.
Thank you for having me. I love you.
Thanks. Do you have anything you need to say? Any last words?
Well, you did say something that I thought of when you were talking about postpartum stuff, and you said, "Oh, you just spilled that." You were talking about I got my hormones tested and all that stuff, and I got on testosterone, but I also got back on medication. So I don't want to leave that out, that I just like got on testosterone. I was just fine. No, I got back on my meds that I need, and now I'm fine.
Yeah.
So it's not just...
And there's no shame in that.
Yeah. I just want people to know, just in case people are on meds, they need meds. That's fine.
Yeah. It's not a fix-all.
Right.
There's a lot of factors.
Mm-hmm. Lots of components.
Appreciate the point of clarification. That way we don't have to come back and do like last week on the episode, Haley said this. And those of you listening, this is not medical advice. This is not approved by the FDA. This is just a personal opinion.
Personal experiences.
Yes, correct.
So.
All right. Well, you want to do the closer?
What do I do?
You say like, thanks for listening to this episode of the Stephan Hogan podcast. Please hit subscribe, like, share.
Oh, you're saying too many words.
Just make up your own, but you look at that camera.
Okay. Thanks for listening to the Stephan Hogan podcast. Then what?
Keep going.
Make sure to,
what do you want?
Make sure to subscribe, share.
Share it on your social media.
Hold on. Subscribe, share, like.
Yeah.
Make sure to subscribe, share, like, comment.
Yeah, leave a comment.
Review.
Yeah.
A 5-star review.
Only 5.
Only 5 stars.
Typically.
What else do I say?
Anything else you want? I usually say until next week, or I say have a good week. oh yeah, I'm giving away a thing. If you do that stuff, you can win dinner with us. My treat.
That's exciting.
I was thinking about that restaurant above the whatever food hall that is across the street from the Ryman. The one that has the wine.
Ooh, yeah. The Italian place?
I don't know what it's called, but it's called something wine. Like 1,000 bottles.
Oh, Vines? I think it's Vine.
Yeah, I was thinking about going there. It's a nice restaurant.
Yeah, I love that place. Let's go.
Yeah, but we have to take that person.
Okay, we need a winner. We need a winner because we want to go to dinner. So.
Winner because you want to go to dinner.
We need a fun night out.
So make sure to leave that 5-star review. And thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Stephan Hogan podcast as Rocky begins to roll the music and it begins to build and build and build and build. Until next week, I hope you have a great week. Thanks again to my wife, Haley Hogan, at Healthy Haley Hogan, for being here. And we will see you here with some special guests. Take it easy. Peace out. Rocky, hit the thing.
This is the Stephan Hogan Podcast.